Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, gonna do a head-to-head between the Glenfarclas 105 and the Tamdhu Batch Strength batch number 5. So Tamdhu has a different release every year. I think the most current release might be batch number 7. This is batch number 5. More or less, I wouldn't expect necessarily to be huge differences between the casks. But if you've had different batches of the cask strength, or excuse me, batch strength from Tamdhu, and you've noticed some differences, let me know down below. Now, these two whiskeys are like twin brothers with just minor differences. The Glenfarclas 105, aged in 100% Old Roaster Sherry cask, it's non-chill filtered, has natural color, bottled at 60% alcohol by volume. In my neighborhood, sells for around $99. The Tamdhu Batch Strength, batch number 5, also aged 100% Old Roaster Sherry cask, also non-chill filtered, natural color, bottled at 59.8% alcohol by volume, and sells for around $97. So we're talking a 0.2% difference in ABV. So what do I think is going to be, if there is any difference between these? Glenfarclas has direct fire stills. And it's a character that I have really been trying to focus in on and recognize that distinction. Glenfiddich, Springbank, and Glenfarclas use direct fire stills. And what it tends to give a whiskey is sort of a burnt sugar, creme brulee character to it. It can also come across as just a slightly earthy character. But you can get similar characteristics from a cask. You probably get some similar characteristics from, say, a worm tub versus a shell and tube condenser. So I'm still training my brain to recognize those distinctives. So on the nose, dried black fruit notes, fig, dates, raisins, an intense spice, like a barbecue spice, a little bit of coffee, a little bit of maple syrup, dried oranges, baking spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove. Tamdhu, very similar. Although I'm getting a little more vanilla off the Tamdhu. Dried oranges, figs, dates, raisins, cinnamon, caramel, coffee, barbecue spices. Maybe I'm getting a little bit more of a fudge. I mean, we're talking minor differences. A little bit more of a fudge character from the Tamdhu. A little bit more of a barbecue rub from the Glenfarclas. But the differences are so minor. Like, you really got to lean into it. You really got to be focused and pick it apart, all those little differences. Now, if you're new to tasting or smelling whiskeys, I like what Daniel Whittington says. He says, approach it like a hot cup of coffee. And when you're dealing with cask strength whiskey, you definitely want to approach it like a hot cup of coffee, because you'll get, that burny sensation in your nose and, of course, on your palate. So very gentle, no big, huge whiffs, no swishing like horse looning. You don't want to do any of that. Oh, And keep coming back to it over and over and over again, because the whiskey is going to evolve in the glass. Now, whiskeys don't continue to mature in the glass, although there is something people talk about, an aging impact on a whiskey. So if you have a bottle that's 30, 40, 50 years old, some weird age things can go on, but generally they don't mature in the glass. But once you pour it in the glass and it more exposure to air, now both, this one's here, so they've had some aeration, but outside of the glass, open air, they're going to continue to evolve. This is one of the awesome things about whiskey. If you're hanging out with friends, or you're reading a book, or you're watching a movie, is you can just approach it very gently with just a little sip, a slight whiff, put it down, and keep coming back to it. You could spend, even though it's only that much, you could spend a half an hour with just that much. This is not about a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And if you notice, both of these whiskeys look fairly similar. They have that sort of copper, slight golden orange character to them, so they look very similar. They also smell very, very, very similar, but you got to pay attention to the most minute nuanced differences. But the problem is, in the time that I've been talking, I've been doing this on purpose. A lot of blah, 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 so I can give these some time to breathe. Now when I go back to it and try it again, they could have even changed just a little bit during this time of me going blah, blah, blah. Let's give it another try. Yeah, this has now got more brown sugar coming out. A little more vanilla, a little more fudge, a little more chocolate. Again, no big inhalation, just a slight little gentle whiff. More caramel and more of the orange character. So whiskeys evolve really, really nice on the glass. Look very similar, smell very similar. Now let's try it on the palate neat, and then I'll put a little bit of water in and we'll try it again. Now, to assess the alcohol of the mouthfeel, you have to let the whiskey sort of sit there. And what I do is I let it sort of sit there on my tongue and feel the weight of it, and then feel how it starts to coat your mouth and come across your tongue. Challenge is, at this high ABV, it comes with a little bit of pain. You're gonna feel it. You gotta get that tingling going down the middle of your palate. And I don't want to blow my palate out with super high ABV whiskey. But you can feel the pain. There's a little bit of that tingleness, but it's a good kind of pain, you know what I mean? A little bit of tingling going on in the mid palate. Sandra. Drink a little bit of water. The Tamdhu. Wow. Figs, dates, raisins, a little bit more intense spice than the Tamdhu. Vanilla, dried oranges, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of barbecue character. The Tamdhu seems to have a little bit of more vanilla, a little bit of more fudge, but fig, dates, raisins, that dried orange character, vanilla, baking spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove. Both of them have an awesome transition and a length to finish. I'm still tasting it now. These, not only in terms of the objective profile that you saw in the notes, but on the palate, these are really like, if you ever meet, twin brothers, twin sisters, identical twins, and maybe you have difficulty telling one from apart, because they look so much alike. That's what these ones are like. But eventually they grow up. Maybe one will be a little bit taller. Maybe one will eat more, so it'll be a little heavier. Maybe they do the hairstyles different, or one will grow a beard and one won't grow a beard. However it is, they try to make themselves come across a little different, because they don't want to, parents that get twin kids and they dress them up looking the same. I know it's cute, but they got to have their own distinctive identities and personalities and everything else. So these whiskeys are very much like this. So these whiskeys, very, 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 very similar. The only thing, and the main thing that I can pick up that's really a standout, and it's so minute, it's hardly there, and maybe it's even my own imagination because I know how the whiskeys are made. There's that just slight creme brulee character that shows up on the Glenfarclas. Now, that slight burnt sugar character can also come from wood. If you've ever spent any time planing or sawing wood, and maybe you kind of scorch the wood while you're doing it, if you're using an electric planer, you get a little scorched wood, you get a hint of that with the Glenfarclas. That could come from the direct fire still, but I'm not sure. But it is the only difference that I can find between these two. Both of these are absolutely fantastic. Both, in my neighborhood, prices are really, really close. The main difference then, if you can buy one or the other, Tamdhu's got a prettier bottle. I gotta give him that. How big is your shelf? Glenfarclas might fit on your shelf a little bit better because it's not so dang tall. But other than that, qualitatively, these are both absolutely superb whiskeys. You're going to be happy with either one of them. taste it blind, if I were to take these glasses and mix them around and do them blind, I would put money on it. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and it would be a complete guess to try to figure out which one's which. Because particularly if you've already tasted them and the alcohol is just kind of put a nice sear across your tongue, you know, like a grilled salmon or something. That's the way these whiskeys are. So these are both 90 plus points in terms of, I think, the quality of the whiskey. I like the transition. I like the length, but they have a real long finish. I like the mouthfeel when it's not burning me, so I like them with a little bit of water. The water not only brings down the ABV a little bit, the alcohol brings down the burn a little bit, it'll also help the characteristics become much more harmonious and intermingled and definitely more approachable. These are not whiskeys I'm sitting around drinking straight. So I'm just going to give them both 90 points. I'm going to give it a tie. If you have both of these available on your shelf, you know, or at the store, you're looking to figure out which one to buy, pick one. Just pick one. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Maybe pick the one that's $2 less. I don't know. Go for it. But now, if you've tried these, if you've tried other batches of Tamdhu Batch Strength, let me know. And maybe you've done a head-to-head with the Glenfarclas 105. Let me know. If you think there's a more significant difference between these than what I'm perceiving in this video, let me know down below. But until next time, if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I go live or post a video. And until next time, Slanja. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.